Good evening, my beautiful people. Tonight on the Forbidden Glass of Wine, Sips and Secrets, we take a walk through history. We remember the days our ancestors carried burdens heavier than chains and still found the strength to rise. Independence was not given lightly. It was earned through sacrifice, courage, and survival. And as we honor that journey tonight, we must also look at ourselves, because true freedom means protecting our future, and that begins with choosing peace over violence. Sip slowly and never forget. My loves, welcome to the Forbidden Glass of Wine. Before we sip, I want you to breathe with me, to listen. Do you hear it? That faint rustle in the cane? That isn't just the wind. That is the breath of those who came before us. Tonight, we sip not from pleasure, but from remembrance, from the pain carved into these fields, from the sacrifice that built this soil. This glass, it is not crystal, it is bone and memory. It carries the echo of chains, the rhythm of drums, and the heartbeat of an island that refused to die. This glass is a vessel of memory, and tonight, we drink so they may finally rest. Step back with me into the 1700s, into the cane fields of St Lucia. Freedom was not lived, it was only whispered, like a dream carried on the wind. Ships brought more than cargo. They carried our ancestors, shackled and chained, sold to cut what Europe called white gold. Sugar sweetened their tea and cakes, but here in St Lucia, it poisoned the air with pain. From sunrise to sunset, the fields swallowed them whole. Men cut cane until their skin split. Women bent under bundles twice their weight. Every crystal of sugar carried a cry. Every spoonful of sweetness was a spoonful of our sorrow. For slowing down, a whip tore across their backs. For daring to speak their language, a tongue silenced with fire. For trying to escape, feet cut, bodies branded, lives discarded. Europe tasted sweetness. We tasted suffering, but their stories did not vanish. They live inside us. Their survival beats in our hearts. Their pain flows through our blood. Their endurance is the reason we stand today. Picture this, my loves. A mother in the cane fields. The sun burns her back. Her hands are raw. She hears footsteps. She watches her child taken away, sold to another island, another master. Her cry shakes the sky, but the cane keeps growing. The world keeps turning. Can you feel her tears? That is the salt in our Caribbean Sea. Do you hear her cry? That is the echo in our drums. Their stories live inside us. Their stories did not vanish, my loves. They live inside us. Their survival beats in our hearts. Their pain flows through our blood. Their endurance is the reason we stand today. And now, centuries later, we walk free. No overseers, no masters, no visible chains. But freedom, my loves, is fragile. What do we do with this freedom? Do we honor it, or do we destroy it with our own hands? We spill blood in our own streets. We bury our own sons and daughters. We make widows not with whips, but with bullets. Is this how we honor the chains they broke? Is this how we thank the ones who endured so we could walk unbound? My loves, we must stop. We must put down the weapons and pick up the memory. We must remember what they survived, so we do not destroy what they died to give us. We owe them more than violence. We owe them peace. This glass tonight is not just wine. It is their blood, their tears, their sacrifice. And with every sip, we vow no more blood on St Lucian soil, no more chains of our own making. Let the killing stop. The glass is empty, but the story is not. The fields still whisper, the drums still speak. Remembrance must be our gift to them. So as you walk away tonight, carry this truth. Our ancestors survived so that we might live, but we must live so that their suffering has meaning. Until we meet again, stay grounded, stay grateful, and let the healing continue. Join me, Lady Divine, for the next sip inside the Forbidden Glass of Wine. My loves, freedom was never handed to us. It was seized in blood, in fire, in sacrifice. And here in St Lucia, our ancestors rose from cane fields and mountains to fight the chains that bound them. The world called it La Guerre des Brigands, the War of the Brigands. But history knows it as something greater, St Lucia's first war for freedom. In 1794, the French abolished slavery in their colonies. Across the Caribbean, hope sparked like wildfire. In St Lucia, thousands of enslaved Africans took to the forests. The British, hungry for power, invaded our island, but the enslaved would not return quietly to chains. From 1795 to 1797, they fought in the hills, in the forests, in the shadows. The British called them brigands, bandits, criminals. But we know the truth. They were freedom fighters. They were St. Lucians refusing to bow. Picture it, my loves. A man stands in the rainforest. Beside him, a woman grips a machete. He whispers, "I would rather die in these hills as a brigand than live in the fields as a slave." And now, my loves, here we are, free yet bound again, not by chains of iron, but by the bullets we fire into our own streets. Our ancestors shed blood to lift us into freedom, yet we waste that freedom spilling the blood of our own. They fought the British with machetes, and here we are, killing each other with guns. They united to face empires, and here we are, divided. This is a false freedom, and false freedom is another kind of slavery. This glass tonight is not just wine. It is fire. It is blood. It is memory. So let us honor their rebellion, not by spilling blood, but by guarding life. Let the killing stop. Sip slowly and never forget. My loves, welcome. Welcome back to the forbidden glass of wine. Tonight we do not just sip, we remember, we feel, we honor. This glass before me, it is not simply wine. It is a mirror of history, a vessel of memory, a reflection of every heartbeat that came before ours. Each drop carries a story of blood spilled, of love endured, of survival whispered through generations. Here, in this sacred space, we do not run from our past. We return to it. We return to the cane fields, to the mountains, to the rivers that once carried both pain and prayer. We return to the voices of our ancestors in St Lucia, those who were chained, those who fought, those who endured so that we might rise. Their story is our story, their pain, our inheritance, their courage, our legacy, and their freedom, my loves, is our duty to protect. So lift your glass with me, not to forget, but to remember. This is their story. This is our reminder. This is the forbidden glass of wine. My loves, not all queens wear crowns. Some carry machetes in the forest. Some wear the smoke of battle as their perfume. In the heart of St Lucia, when the moon was the only witness, there walked such a queen, a woman whose name was nearly swallowed by the silence of history. Her name was Flora Bois-Gaillard. Once enslaved, she broke her chains not only with strength, but with vision. She fled the plantation, her feet cutting through thorn and cane, her spirit chasing something greater than survival, freedom. In the late 1700s, St Lucia was no stranger to war. The island changed hands 14 times, passed between France and Britain like a gemstone in a king's pocket. But in the shadows of their empires, another war was being born. A war not for crowns, but for breath, for freedom. When the British returned to reclaim the island, they came with muskets. Yet the people who had tasted the idea of freedom could no longer pretend to be slaves, so they fled. From Soufriere to Dennery, thousands escaped into the forests, the green cathedrals of resistance, and among them was a woman named Flora Bois-Gaillard. Born enslaved, Flora had known every cruelty the cane fields could teach, but somewhere within that suffering, a spirit was forged that would not bow. The forest became her fortress, the rivers her escape routes. Under the canopy, Flora became a leader. She drew men and women to her camp, runaways, fishermen, mothers all seeking one thing, the right to call their own souls free. The British feared her more than any regiment. They put a price on her head, 30 pieces of silver. But they could never find her. She fought as the land itself, swift, hidden, untamed. Her people said she moved like the wind. You felt her presence before you saw her. And when you saw her, it was already too late. They can burn the forest, she says. They can call us brigands, but they will never break our spirit. Better to die in these mountains free than to live in chains. But today, my loves, well, what have we done with her sacrifice? We have women still fighting, but this time the war looks different. They fight grief, they fight despair, they fight to raise sons in a world that keeps repeating old violence. We see our queens forced to be strong because our kings are falling, not to foreign chains, but to bullets from their own brothers. If Flore could rise from her grave tonight, would she not cry out, "Stop killing each other. Protect your people, as I once did. Your freedom was not meant for this." Freedom without compassion is just another form of bondage. Every time a woman in St Lucia stands tall, Flore lives again. She was a rebel then, and through us, she still is. This glass tonight is memory in liquid form. It is Flore's courage. It is her breath, carried still by the trees she once walked beneath. "Protect your people," she whispers through the wind. "Guard their peace." So tonight we vow to be like Flore, to guard, not to destroy, to remember that unity is not a dream. It is the legacy we were born from. Freedom was not written in ink. It was written in blood. Let our bloodline remember that peace is the only repayment worthy of it. Let this wine remind us that every sip is sacred. My loves, we cannot let their sacrifice fade into noise. Let the killing stop. Let the rhythm live. Let the healing begin. May your nights be peaceful, your hearts be kind, and your freedom true. Join me, Lady Divine, for the next sip inside the forbidden glass of wine. My loves, this is the forbidden glass of wine. But tonight, it is not only wine we sip, it is memory, it is blood, it is survival. We return once again to the cane fields, to the hills, to the silent echoes of chains and courage in St Lucia, to the voices of those who were enslaved, those who rebelled, and those who endured long enough for us to call ourselves free. Their story is our story, their pain is our inheritance, their freedom is our duty to protect. So lift your glass with me and let us drink not to forget, but to remember. This is their story. This is our reminder. This is the forbidden glass of wine. The year was 1834. Across the Caribbean, the word spread like a song carried by the sea wind. Slavery is over. We are free. It began as a whisper in the cane fields, a murmur among tired men. Then it grew, a ripple across the plantations, spilling into the villages, echoing through the mountains. Mothers clutched their children, tears blurring their sight. Hope rose like the morning sun, but the dawn, my loves, was not full daylight. It was only a thin ribbon of light before the storm, because the morning of freedom came clothed in a shadow. They said we were free and but kept us bound. They said the chains were gone, but forged them in paper instead of iron. The whip no longer cracked in the open, but the same pain echoed in hidden corners. Freedom was spoken in English, signed in London, but felt nowhere in the hearts of the people. In 1834, Parliament announced emancipation. London rejoiced. But here, freedom came folded between the lines of a contract. They named it the apprenticeship system, a polite word for a cruel design. Under this new law, every person once enslaved was declared an apprentice to their former master. For 4 long years, they were required to keep working on the same plantations for the same masters. Adult labor, 45 hours a week without pay. They were told, "You are no longer slaves, but you must serve." They said the lash was gone, but in its place came laws. Magistrates replaced the whip, writing punishments into ink instead of leather. The system was a mirror with a new reflection, slavery disguised as supervision. The planters called themselves guardians, but they were guarding their profits, not the people. The chains were gone, but the bondage remained. Come closer, my loves, and see how apprenticeship felt in St Lucia. At Castries, ships still came and went, carrying sugar and rum as if nothing had changed. In the cul-de-sac valley, the cutlasses still flashed at dawn. Men rose before the rooster, bent to the cane for 45 hours a week for free. At Soufriere, the earth smelled of sulphur and rain. Women stooped in the boiling house, steam stinging their eyes. Sundays were for rest, yet even Sunday had a price. A woman stood before the magistrate and said in Creole, "Monsieur, me pas esclave encore." "Sir, I am no longer a slave." He answered in careful English, "Madam, you are an apprentice." The difference was only ink. In the evenings, chapels filled. Bon Dieu, ban nous fausse. Old men rubbed their wrists where iron once bit. This too was St Lucia in apprenticeship, a quiet curriculum of survival. We schooled ourselves in the art of enduring and in the science of freedom yet to come. So when 1838 came, St Lucia did not greet freedom as a stranger. We had practiced her in the shadows. Picture him, my loves. An old man named Baptiste. He was born enslaved. He learned to measure time not by the clock, but by the ache in his back. When word came that slavery had ended, he fell to his knees and whispered, "Bon Dieu, merci." Thank you, God, at last. But at sunrise, it was the same bell calling him to the fields, the same voice shouting orders. The overseer arrived, not with a whip this time, but with papers. He said, "You are no longer slaves, but you must serve as apprentices." Hope broke his heart. He understood. Freedom had come dressed in deceit. The whip had become a law. The chain had become a contract. Yet Baptiste kept his vow. He taught his children to read, to count, to speak their worth. He told them, freedom is not given, it is taken and kept. And when the final bell rang in 1838, he smiled, a quiet smile, like a man who had carried the cross long enough to see the dawn. He whispered his last prayer, "Bon Dieu, me voit soleil là." God, I see the sun. By 1836, the Caribbean was restless. Apprenticeship no longer meant promise, it meant betrayal. In London's grand halls, men argued over humanity, while here, humanity bent once more beneath the cane. But the people had learned too much to ever go quietly again. In St Lucia, they gathered at night whispering, "No more." Empty fields on Mondays, resting their souls. By 1838, the empire could no longer defend the lie. August 1st, total emancipation. Oh, what a sound it was. Church bells were cleaned, drums were tuned, mothers dressed children in white. St Lucia finally took her first full breath. But freedom did not come with wealth, it came with wounds. The cane fields still belonged to the masters. The chains were broken, but the scars remained. This was true emancipation, won not by Parliament, but by persistence. My loves, freedom delayed is freedom denied. 2 centuries later, I ask, are we truly free? When our sons fall to bullets instead of the lash, is that freedom? We have traded iron chains for invisible ones, poverty, division, corruption. Some of us have become our own oppressors. We gossip where we should uplift. We kill not only with weapons, but with words, with envy, with neglect. This is not the freedom our ancestors prayed for. They fought for a future where their children would live in dignity, not die in despair. True emancipation is written in how we treat one another. Freedom is not an event on a calendar. It is a daily choice. To free ourselves not from masters, but from mindsets. To stop spilling blood on the same soil that once drank the sweat of our ancestors. We owe them more than violence. We owe them peace. This glass tonight is memory made liquid. It is a ritual of remembrance. True freedom is not the absence of chains, it is the presence of peace. To the ones who came before, we say, nous libérés. To the ones who come after, do not forget. Let us honor their fight not with more blood, but with more love. Teach our children that freedom is sacred and peace is power. Let the killing stop. Let the healing begin. May your nights be peaceful, your hearts be kind, and your freedom true. Until next time, my loves, let the memory live, let the hope rise, and let the healing begin. Join me, Lady Divine, for the next sip of truth, healing, and history inside the forbidden glass of wine. My loves, this is the forbidden glass of wine, but tonight it is not only wine we sip, it is rhythm, it is language, it is faith, it is memory. We return once again to the heart of St Lucia, this island where freedom was born in whispers and courage hid behind song. Our ancestors built freedom not only with rebellion, but with rhythm. Because, my loves, when they were stripped of everything, they shaped language from loss. They turned pain into poetry. Every beat of the drum was a message. Nous la toujours. We are still here. This glass tonight, it carries their rhythm, their spirit, their soul. This is not just remembrance. This is resurrection. This is the forbidden glass of wine, my loves. The whip cut the skin. But one sacred thing slavery could never destroy was the spirit of our people. In the silence after pain, they found rhythm. In the shadows of bondage, they found song. The spirit danced in the heartbeats of the hills of Choiseul. The ancestors carried freedom where no master could reach, inside the rhythm of their souls. When the world called them slave, they answered, Zot pasakope l'esprit moen. You cannot cut my spirit. Every rhythm was rebellion. Every prayer was protection. Because even when the world tried to erase them, the ancestors found a way to sing. The story of our survival was beaten into drums that the masters forbade. They banned the drum because it was language. It was heartbeat. Through every beat, our ancestors spoke across hills, across miles of pain. They spoke in code. So the masters broke drums. But the people, they did not stop. They beat rhythms on their own chests. And out of this defiance, our language was born. Creole, woven from pain, born from brilliance. Each word was survival. Faith was their camouflage. The masters saw bowed heads, but beneath those hymns were the echoes of Africa. Culture became their armor. Language became their sanctuary. So when you hear the drum, you are not just celebrating, you are continuing the rebellion. Come, my loves, walk the island with me. In Castries, a mother passed down a lullaby that had crossed the ocean without a passport. Down the cul-de-sac valley, when the drum was banned, the tibois kept time on a doorframe. Rhythm survived because hands remembered. In Soufrière, faith became a double key, Catholic on the surface, ancestral beneath. Creole, St Lucia, grew where silence had been planted. When ink lied, Creole told the truth. The quadrille moved with Caribbean hips. Proverbs carried the law. Chen cacasse, me mak la carete. Chains break, but the scars remain. La Rose and La Marguerite were rehearsals for unity. We ate what history meant for waste and turned it into feast. Culture was not entertainment, it was infrastructure. We are servicing the bridge our ancestors built so our children can cross. My loves. It is midnight in the hills. The masters sleep, but the people are awake. In a clearing hidden by trees, a drum rests, sacred. Someone hums a tune. A woman's voice rises, carrying pain and promise. The drum was more than music. It was language without chains. Each beat was defiance. Each sway was declaration. In those moments, they were not slaves. They were the children of kings and queens. They were freedom, alive, barefoot, and breathing. When the dawn began to blush, they smiled. Because through that rhythm, they had built something unbreakable. They carried the song home in their bones. They could not stop the drum because they could not stop the soul. The rhythm was the island's heartbeat, and the island never stopped beating. My loves, the drums of yesterday have not stopped. They live now in the rhythm of our voices. Culture is not performance, it is protection. But now, look around. We have the flag, but do we have peace? We sing La Rose, but the gun still sings louder. We speak our language with pride, but we forget to speak life into each other. When we trade the drum for the gun, we insult the spirit that survived the cane fields. When we trade the dance for violence, we dance on the graves of those who fought for peace. Freedom is choosing creation over destruction. Our culture is the medicine our nation has forgotten to take. If the ancestors could survive slavery with only a drum and a dream, surely we can survive freedom if only we remember the rhythm. Let us not bury the drum. Let us lift it again as shield, as song, as symbol. Sometimes I wonder, if the ancestors could walk through St Lucia tonight, what would they say? Would they smile, or would they lower their heads at the shadows we've allowed to return? Freedom was not a gift. It was a responsibility. That rhythm in your chest, the same one that beat under their scars, that is theirs too. But we mistake aggression for power. Every time hate wins, a drum goes silent. Our ancestors did not fight for a future of fear. So I beg of you, my loves, do not let their courage end in memory. Guard it like the flame of a candle in the wind. Survival was never just about living through chains. It was about learning how to love after them. Let the drum beat again. Let love return home. Only then will we truly be free. Tonight we have walked through memory. This glass is not just wine. It is the rhythm of the drum. It is the whisper of Quayol. It is survival turned into beauty. Every sip is a vow to protect our rhythm, our tongue, our island, each other. Our ancestors built songs out of sorrow and peace out of pain. So we too must rise. Let this be more than remembrance. Let it be rebirth. Let it be healing. For our ancestors survived chains. We must now survive freedom. Let the killing stop. Let the rhythm live. Let the healing begin. Share this moment. Because when we remember together, we heal together. Like, share, and subscribe to The Forbidden Glass of Wine. Stay grounded, stay grateful, and remember, the rhythm of freedom still beats within us. My loves, welcome back to The Forbidden Glass of Wine. Tonight we do not just sip, we remember, we feel, we honor. We return to 1794, a year when the word liberty wasn't just a whisper, but a flame that threatened to consume empires. It was St Lucia's year of liberty, a fragile promise carved out of revolution and blood. Their story is our story. Their pain is our inheritance. Their freedom is our duty to protect. This is their story. This is our reminder. This is the forbidden glass of wine. In February 1794, the French National Convention did the unthinkable. They abolished slavery in all their colonies. The ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity crossed the Atlantic like a tidal wave. For the first time in history, an imperial power universally outlawed the ownership of human flesh. In St Lucia, the enslaved heard the news, and the hills themselves seemed to ignite with hope. They were no longer cargo, they were citizens. But liberty is a dangerous thing to empires. Just 2 months later, the British invaded. They wanted the sugar, they wanted the power, and they wanted the people back in chains. On April 1st, 1794, the British captured the island, seeking to restore the old order of the whip. But once a soul has tasted the idea of freedom, it cannot be untasted. The resistance did not surrender. They took to the woods. In the dense heart of the island, a new army was born, l'Armée Française dans les Bois, the French army in the woods. Joined by French revolutionaries, the formerly enslaved became a force of shadows. From 1795 to 1797, they waged an audacious guerrilla war against the British. They turned the mountains into fortresses and the rivers into escape routes. They were fighting for more than a flag. They were fighting for the right to breathe. In 1795, the tables turned. Victor Hugo landed with reinforcements, and the British were forced to flee. This was l'année de la liberté, the year of liberty. Slavery was officially abolished on the island again. The planters who had supported the British fled, and for a brief, beautiful year, St. Lucia lived the dream of the revolution. They built schools, they held trials, and they practiced the art of being free. It was a glimpse of a future that seemed for a moment permanent. But history is often written in betrayal. In 1802, Napoleon Bonaparte rose to power and did what no other nation had ever done. He re-established slavery. He turned the clock back to the dark. The year of liberty was crushed under the weight of a new empire. St. Lucia was traded again like a gemstone, eventually falling into British hands in 1814. The promise of 1794 became a ghost, a memory that would have to wait decades to be re-won. This is the tragedy of a fragile freedom. It can be taken away if it is not guarded with our lives. My loves, the year of liberty teaches us a bitter lesson. A promise on paper is not the same as peace in the heart. Today, we have our flag, we have our independence, but are we truly honoring the spirit of 1794? We have traded foreign empires for internal divisions. We fire bullets into our own streets, reopening the wounds our ancestors fought to heal. When we destroy each other, we betray the very liberty that Victor Hughes and the brigands died to protect. We must stop being apprentices to our own rage. True freedom is a choice we must make every single day, to love, to protect, and to build. This glass tonight is memory in liquid form. It is the fire of 1794. It is the courage of those who refuse to kneel. Let us honor their sacrifice, not with more blood, but with more love. Let the killing stop. Let the rhythm live. Let the healing begin. Join me, Lady Divine, for the next sip of truth, healing, and history inside the forbidden glass of wine. Stay grounded, stay grateful, and remember, the rhythm of freedom still beats within us. Sip slowly and never forget. Thank you, my beautiful people, for joining me on Sips and Secrets here on 92.3 Liberty FM and Channel 119 on Flow. Join me, Lady Divine, every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. And once again, happy 47th anniversary of our independence. Tonight, we did more than remember. We honored the footsteps that carried us here. The price of freedom was not small, and the responsibility of independence is even greater. So as you leave this space tonight, walk gently with history. Choose peace where others choose chaos. Choose unity where others plant division, because the future of St Lucia still lives in us. Until next time, sip slowly and never forget.